Hello and welcome to SuperGrads by Top Rankers, India's premium MBA entrance and mentorship program. Today, I, Vijyaditya Singh, IIM Ahmedabad pass out batch of 2024, bring to you a 5-part series on innovation and entrepreneurship. Over the next 4 days, including today, we'll be going over some very important lessons to score well in the CMAT exam. So let's take it forward. This 5-part series inherently consists of sessions. The first session that is for today will be exam pattern and overview. How can you ace the CMAT entrance exam, particularly when it comes to the entrepreneurship and innovation section. We will be going over some key topics and concepts from the syllabus. This is a culmination of not just theories and syllabus that are given in the exam, but based on previous year's results and performance. We'll also be inculcating some of these things. In the session tomorrow, I'll just give you a quick overview. We'll be following the different types of question and formats that are asked. So it's not like a simple 4 or 5 option MCQ that is asked in a typical CMAT exam. There are certain comprehensions, certain one-liners, so I'll just brief you through all of them. We'll also cover a bit more deep on the frequently asked concepts based on previous year's CMAT's innovation and entrepreneurship exam. Session number 3 and 4 will primarily resolve around solving previous year questions. This is going to be extremely useful for you. I think the best way to practice and to create a understanding of what is asked in the exam is to solve PYQs. I'll help you solve some PYQs in session number 3 and 4. So you're ready for the exam and you know what to prepare for. And session number 5, the last session, is going to be on the preparation strategy and a summary understanding of all that we've learned in these sessions. So please stay tuned as we go through the 5-part series. This will help you crack the CMAT examination in all its glory. Also, one surprise for you. In case you want to enroll with SuperGrads by Top Rankers for test series, for mock tests, or for CAT 2026 in general, this is a special discount code that I have for you right now. Anybody who's watching us can simply use this code and get 15% off on the fees that is promised to them immediately. And you can share this with your friends and referrals. This is only a one-time giveaway for the CAT 2026 product. So let's go through some of the very basics of the innovation and entrepreneurship piece. The entire exam, that is CMAT, consists of 80 questions. Of these 80 questions, you can expect 20 to be of innovation and engineering. Now you see, the correct answer fetches you plus 4 marks. The wrong answer fetches you -1, and there is 0 marking for no answering. So basically, if you are not very sure of what the right answer is, you can score much less. So only score or take an answer if you are sure of it, because the number of options that you have is more than 4. Hence, +4 and -1 is not balanced. Hence, my recommendation is, if you do not know the answer, please, at least if you can eliminate it to maybe 3 options, if not 4 options, then go ahead and mark the question. Do not mark anything if you have absolutely no idea to score better in this exam. Now, while other sections of this exam will take a lot of time, typically you should not be spending more than 30 seconds on every question that comes in the innovation and entrepreneurship piece. This is because questions are comparatively straightforward. The difficulty levels that we have in this exam are pretty easy to moderate. Either you do know the answer or you don't know the answer. At best, you can take a reasonable guess between 1 or 2, but not more than that. As already mentioned, the number of options that you will have to answer each question would be 5. Hence, it's not a 4 in which you can just, have your probabilities segregated for 4 and -1 individually. Let's move forward. So let's start with an overview of what entrepreneurship inherently means. Entrepreneurship means starting and growing a business by identifying an opportunity and taking risk. So there is an opportunity that you see and there is a risk that you take. Opportunity and risk taking together creates entrepreneurship. Now this definition is very interesting because it says entrepreneurship means starting and growing a business by identifying an opportunity and taking risk. Does that mean second generation businessmen are not entrepreneurs? No, that's not the case. Even second generation businessmen are entrepreneurs if they pursue business expansions, if they continue taking more risks which they need to do on an everyday basis. So while the kind of risks can change, just having new opportunities and taking risks to build on them makes you an entrepreneur. So yes, generation 1, generation 2, as long as you are making new things happen, you are an entrepreneur. Talking about entrepreneurship, the richest individual in India right now, Mr. Dhirubhai Ambani, started by spotting demand for affordable textiles and petrochemicals. Another one of the first generation businessmen, but who knows, even his parents were probably businessmen, and hence generation should not be a category of defining entrepreneurship. A person who creates and manages a business while bearing risks. Now again, there is an emphasis each time on an opportunity and a risk. Opportunities can be created by oneself. Opportunities can come because of external conditions. However, risk taking is a completely personal choice because internal and external things might change for different people, but to take that risk and to develop that into a business is what entrepreneurship means. Now, there are different ways in which you can seize an opportunity. Let's explore some of these. One is opportunity identification. Ola identified an opportunity. They saw a lot of taxis standing outside railway stations, and there was a lot of bargaining which people did not like going forward. They identified an opportunity and they created a market for it. There was no such player previously, and there is the market. We all know what Ola is today. Almost all of us have it on our phones right now. Hence, opportunity identification is just one type of entrepreneurship. Second is risk taking. Now, Amazon was in the delivery business of a marketplace business much before Flipkart was there. Hence, this was not opportunity identification. It was just the pure confidence that the Flipkart founders have in taking risk. They had a confidence that we can do something Amazon perhaps cannot in the market that we are in today. Even Flipkart owns a substantial amount of market share in the same market where Amazon operates. Now, this is a clear step of risk-taking entrepreneurship because understanding the size of the market, Flipkart does things that Amazon cannot and has its own brand value, and hence they capture a certain market share. Third is innovation. This by far is the most scientific and technical way of going about entrepreneurship. When you innovate something that does not exist in the market at all. For opportunity identification, they just identified an opportunity and seized on it. They did not create that opportunity. In risk taking, there was already a player who had established the business. You just had to take risk and go for doing the similar kind of business. But in innovation, this is happening for the first time. UPI by NPCI, the entire instant payment schemes that work right now, 10 years, probably 15 years ago, there was nobody in the entire country doing this right now. And NPCI started by innovating on how to make, wallets thinner, transactions smoother. Today, if somebody asks for a change of 3 rupees, we're like, I'll just phone paid or Google paid. That is the kind of impact that innovation driven entrepreneurship can have. Then is value creation. Now, value creation uh, is a very interesting business model in terms of identifying opportunities, because this was a potential that could only be unlocked in certain restricted conditions, and the entrepreneur goes out of his or her own way in making sure that this is enabled for the entire market. This is called creating value. For example, the entrepreneurship of telecom always operated on a certain number. Back in the day when I was in high school, my peers and me used to have, perhaps 1 GB data on the phone for 800, maybe 900 bucks a month. And it usually used to be like three, maybe one in three or maybe four people used to pay for that kind of money to have that sort of internet or data on their phone. Otherwise, everybody else used to use broadbands. Now, today, if we see the kind of investment Jio did to make sure internet is accessible for everyone, they made internet so cheap that everybody started buying it. And once everybody started buying it, they could actually earn the kind of total money that they would have done anyway. Hence, this is value creation. The same internet which costed 800 rupees for one individual now costs 300 rupees for three individuals. An excellent example of creating value. Fourth is profit orientation. Uh, Zomato did something that was already in business. They did not do anything new. Uh, Food being delivered to your home. Back in the day, Domino's 30-minute delivery and so many things were in the trend, and delivery was always a norm. But how could you improve and make delivery as a business more profitable is something that Zomato expertised on. They started giving out offers at some point of time. Today they take more profit margins than restaurants themselves have on their own food products, and that is the kind of scope that profit orientation can lead towards. Now, it's very important for us to understand all these concepts can be asked in a realm in the exam that could not be immediately identifiable. The purpose of this course is to develop that thought in you as to how entrepreneurship works. Once you go through this series of lectures, you'll be in a position that you'll definitely click on something when a question is asked in the CMAT Entrepreneurship and Innovation series. You will be in a good enough phase for you to have confidence and context in which a question comes. Let's deep dive a bit now on different models of entrepreneurship and see how this takes us forward. The first model is the opportunity model. We identify an opportunity, we evaluate if it's a opportunity worth taking, and then we execute upon it. Say for example, you identify an opportunity in your house. Maybe you say, I want to make popcorns. I want to make popcorns. You evaluate the business prospect. You understand, okay, making popcorn requires me for my entire house to, have a certain kind of equipment and all these things, but my kitchen does not have the requisite space to be keeping an oven or or an air fryer or whatever you'd like to cook your popcorns in. You evaluate the prospect in terms of its feasibility. If you can do it, then does the market need it? And if both these things match, if you can make it and the market needs it, then you start on the execution phase, and hence you build on an opportunity model. Paytm is a great example again. They realized that after demonetization, with lack of cash in the market, they could build on the cashless payment opportunity. Otherwise, this would have not driven naturally, and hence they found that opportunity and they seized it. Let's talk about the innovation model. Zoho is a great example. They're building SaaS. SaaS means software as a service. They're building a SaaS product globally from India. Uh, the idea of building SaaS products for a global market comes out of the fact that India is a place where labor is available for cheap, technicals are available for cheap, our currency is extremely low, and hence we can leverage the resources that we have and the constraints in which we live for an international market, and hence they innovated in terms of creating an idea, developing that idea for a global organization, and then commercializing the business aspects of it. Then, as a classic resource-based model, uh, capital and skills plus network can. This is the typical, tier two, tier three India business model where you have some money, you have some skills, and you have some network, and you leverage it to make things work for you. Surprisingly, OYO started like this. OYO used venture capital and their hospitality know-how to build on the resource-based model. This could also be, people who do brokerage of properties, property dealers. They have a certain amount of money that they can spend in finding land. They have the selling skills that is needed, and they have a network in which they can sell all these lands to. Similarly, for say, for example, petrol pumps, a person has a petrol pump, you can even, you have some money, you have 3, maybe 4 crores of money, you can invest that capital, employ your management skills, and if your network is good enough, you will get the licenses and all regulated, and you can just start doing business. The resource-based model is one of the most classical and traditional models of entrepreneurship. The last is the entrepreneurial ecosystem model. A startup success depending on the ecosystem. For example, Bangalore startup ecosystem. Now, say for example, now this is like Matrix because there is a world in which we operate and there is a world that supports the world in which we operate. So, say for example, there is a startup which is a startup helper for other startups. All startups need to be legally registered in India when they're, getting into business. A startup that helps other startups set up their legal business in India would come under entrepreneurial ecosystem model. Hence, these are 4 models of entrepreneurship for you to going forward have knowledge about in case this is asked in the exam again. Now let's go around some theories and frameworks. This is primarily driven out of economics. Some very standard frameworks and knowledge if you are a student from economics, but if you are not from an economics background, this might be really helpful for you too. Economic theory, entrepreneurship grows due to market demand and profit opportunities. It sounds very simple, but please understand everything in economy is driven through the market. Say for example, you want to start something of your own. The first question that should come to your mind is if there is a market demand for it. Otherwise, it is not entrepreneurship, it is arts. It is arts and crafts, and it's a way for you to express your emotions. It cannot be termed entrepreneurship unless you've identified and have a reason of a market demand. Profit opportunities, say for example, EV startups in India rising due to fuel costs. Now you need to understand the reason for somebody to shift from a traditional petrochemical based vehicle to an electric vehicle would be difficult, right? Why would they do it if there was no reason? The reason was that fuel became costly, and since fuel became costly, they had to eventually transition into electric vehicles. Hence, there was a market demand due to which the entire industry came around. It wasn't one of these days that the prices of fuels are still as same as the other ones, but yeah, the electric EV industry is now out and booming. That might not have been the case considering the economic impacts of rising fuel costs was high. Okay, let's go forward. Schumpeter's innovation theory. Entrepreneurs bring new combinations that disrupt the market. In today's time, you would be a bit confused, say, for example, as to how to go about entrepreneurship. Considering so many people are doing entrepreneurship in today's time, and it just feels very difficult to think of something very new, something that nobody has ever done. In such cases, instead of spreading your thoughts horizontally, I suggest that you spread your thoughts vertically. You build an idea on top of another idea on top of another idea. Say, for example, stock market trading. Stock market trading has been, in the market since more than 3-4 decades now, since the stock market of India started. With the development of AI, it does not require you to do day in or intraday trading personally, devoting the hours that are required. You can just give a logic to a certain amount of algorithms in an AI to generate what can be a full-time stockbroker intraday with you not even being involved. Now, this is one technology built on top of another technology, and hence this is called Schumpeter's innovation theory. Geo similarly disrupted the telecom pricing by creating creative disruption. They disrupted the entire market uh, by offering free internet for everyone. Psychological theory or McClelland's psychological theory requires entrepreneurs having a high need for achievement or an edge. You can just think of psychological theory as extremely intrinsically driven reasons for an entrepreneur to do this. Uh, it's not like they're starting something great, it's just that they have identified a specific opportunity and they are so driven in terms of their, North Star metric in terms of who they want to be in life, the kind of impact and change they want to have in the world, and the need for them to achieve this in a specific phase of time. That psychological theory or entrepreneurs having high need for achievement will definitely succeed in this framework. For example, Mr. Narayan Murthy, the founder of Infosys, built a global IT firm from scratch in one generation, something you can't even imagine you would do in a certain specific period of time unless you have a very high need for achievement. This is called McClelland's psychological theory. Moving on to the sociological theory, social background influences entrepreneurship. Now, needless to say, a lot of communities mentioned here, specifically Marwari and Gujarati communities, have entrepreneurship built in them in terms of the generations that have passed on the similar culture day in and day out. They are grown up in families, they look up to people who've been entrepreneurs all their life. The kind of lessons that are required for an entrepreneur, say for example, the kind of skills that are required, the kind of conversational and behavioral skills that are required to make sales are some things that these community transfer generation by generation to the kids anyway, and hence a lot of economics comes from this market. In fact, while the entire country thinks of studying for higher education in class 11 and 12, a majority chunk of the Marwadi and Gujarati community is at space already calculated that the best ROI for their children could perhaps be them joining entrepreneurial ventures, and hence, considering the fact that they are also economically well-off communities, they are able to crack uh, business in India. Then there is opportunity-based theory or Kirchner's theory. Entrepreneurs exploit market inefficiencies. Uh, Market inefficiencies is where the borderline of entrepreneurship and scam get blurred a little bit. Say for example, Meesho enabled small sellers via WhatsApp and Instagram. Now we need to understand that market inefficiencies came in because the ticket size in certain in certain businesses or in certain products is so small that you cannot afford to have these things delivered. However, if you can leverage alternative means, say for example WhatsApp or Instagram to be doing all these things for you, then you have a great market built for yourself, and hence opportunity based theory. Now that uh, WhatsApp and Instagram were on fire, it is only because of WhatsApp and Instagram that Meesho could actually increase its sales. Hence, opportunity-based theory or Kerzner's theory believes in entrepreneurs exploiting market inefficiencies when something new happens. Let's take a pause and reflect what we've learned so far. We've taken some time in understanding how entrepreneurship works. What is it that takes entrepreneurs everyday journey? We've understood how the exam curriculum in CMAT is structured, and we've also understood different kinds of models and frameworks, and in economics and in entrepreneurship in general, that lay the foundation of the entire piece. Going forward, let's understand some types and dimensions of entrepreneurship. to take the conversation forward. This also, just by the way, is one of the most asked pieces in the CMAT exam, and hence I heavily recommend that you make notes or just keep a very open and absorbing mind in this specific slide. Great. Let's take things forward. Um, Types of entrepreneurs. Innovative. Nandan Nilekani, the founder of Aadhaar card, Mr. Nandan Nilekani, was an innovative entrepreneur because he developed something that wasn't there before. This was the first of kind of innovation and hence an innovator. Imitative. Swiggy food delivery model adapted for India. This is an imitative type of entrepreneur. Fabian. Fabian entrepreneurs are traditional retailers slowly adopting to e-commerce. A lot of people in the typical markets that you would see in the offline market communities, especially in the Marwadi and the Gujarati communities that we were just discussing earlier, come from this section. They are slowly transitioning towards more sophisticated and tech-enabled businessmen. Then there are drone entrepreneurs. This means old kirana stores resisting UPI initially. This could the example for this could be Amul Sachi parlor or some vegetable vendor who's not agreeing to take UPI. They prefer taking things by cash. Those are called drone entrepreneurs. And then there are some social entrepreneurs. The purpose of a social entrepreneur is going beyond the typical realm of the purpose of business not being purely driven by profit, but also creating a social benefit. This could be cleaner air. This could be free education to the poor. This could be medical help. Anything that helps benefits the society while creating value and profits can be called social entrepreneurship. It's not necessary for it to create profits. The outcome of it definitely should be a positive contribution to the society. Then there are serial entrepreneurs. Serial entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs who are not invested in only one specific startup but keep innovating and doing entrepreneurship ventures one after the other. Mr. Vijay Shekhar Sharma, the founder of Paytm, is one such example. Now take the dimensions in which entrepreneurship in India can be looked at. We've so far covered the conceptuals of how we are going to go around this, but taking forward, let's understand the context in which all of these things can happen, just for us to have a broader frame in which these things are operating. Let's look at the economic dimensions. One of the most obvious dimensions is the economic dimension. Uh, Startups happen, MSME, micro, small, and medium enterprises. This is a very important keyword. MSMEs generate a lot of jobs. Hence, startups help and generate a lot of employment. There is a lot of social benefit as well. The social benefit particularly includes people who haven't been able to get a lot in terms of the progress of the society directly. Say, for example, people living in rural parts of India, people living in marginal societies and forest dwelling communities. Anything that happens to favor a certain community that has not been, that has remained untouched with the development of India, such as example of this is Amul, empowering farmers and people who rear sheep and cows in terms of generating employment for them. Those are called social aspects of an entrepreneurship. Then there are some technological advantages that happen. Say, for example, a lot of technology. One a great example is the aluminium foil that we use in our life to pack our foods every day. It started off as something that was developed in the space organizations as something that was used in rockets. Eventually, the technology became so cheap and it became so accessible to the public in general. Today, we all use the aluminium foil to pack our foods, but all of this started in space organizations themselves. Then there are some psychological uh, benefits that startups have. Say, for example, the founder's risk-taking mindset. In today's time, Mr. Nikhil Kamath is doing one of these podcasts called the WTF podcast, where they encourage people who are especially young into taking entrepreneurial ventures, uh, certain kind of money invested in ventures. that sounds abrupt. They those don't sound something familiar or something that would definitely be a hit, but could be the next big thing in the market. Mr. Nikhil Kawat is starting one of those things, and a great example of the kind of psychological contributions that startup have to the country. Then there is, of course, a managerial dimension uh, of benefits of entrepreneurship. Tata Group today stands for one word, and that is trust. The values are imbibed in an organization and businesses so inherently that it not only speaks for the business organization but the entire ecosystem in which it operates. Today, Tata Group's leadership practices are part of the Indian community. Uh, it is something that a lot of people do look up to. It gives young entrepreneurs a direction into which they should be heading the community towards, and hence this creates a great foundation. I hope this session was extremely useful for you. With this, we are concluding session 1 of the live series, the 5-part live series of innovation and entrepreneurship. I will be meeting tomorrow at 5 p.m. sharp again, taking this conversation forward. And I hope you had a great time and had a great time learning with us. Please do join SuperGrads by Top Rankers and subscribe us as soon as possible. Thanks.